Introduction to 1 Samuel. Author unknown, possibly Samuel, with excerpts from the memoirs of Gad and Nathan. Date written probably between 1050 and 931 BC. However, the book was not put into its final form until some years later, possibly between 930 and 722 BC. Time span about 94 years. Period of time from the birth of Samuel to the death of Saul. Title: the book is named after Samuel, not only because he is the principal figure in the first part, but also because he anoints Saul and David, the main figures in the latter portion of the book. Background: 1 Samuel is a continuation of the story in the book of Judges. It begins late in the turbulent time of the judges when Eli is the judge priest and Israel is being oppressed by the Palestinians, I guess. 1 and 2 Samuel consist of one book in the Hebrew Bible since they cover the continuous story of Samuel, Saul, and David. Where written: unknown, probably in Israel. To whom? To the Israelites. Content: the Israelites are insisting on a king like the pagan nations have. They no longer want God's placement of a judge over them. 1 Samuel is the story of Israel's last judge and first prophet Samuel, her first king Saul, and the early years of her anointed king elect David. Saul lacks a heart for God, so God rejects him as king. Young David then enters the picture by slaying Goliath with a sling and a stone, 1 Samuel chapter 17, and developing a strong friendship with Saul's son Jonathan, 1 Samuel chapter 18. God selects David to replace Saul as king, but David has to flee to the desert to escape Saul's raging jealousy. David lives in exile until Saul and his son die in battle at Mount Gibeon, Gilboa. The stage is now set for the Golden Age with David reigning as king of Israel. Keywords: jealousy and heart. The book is full of jealousy. Israel for a king like her neighbors, and Saul of his successor David. Thus God looks at the heart, and his selections are not always what are expected. Themes: God is bigger than any problem we will ever have. With God's help, our emotions can be kept under his control. Even God's children can fail and fall into sin. Any life full of sin and defeat can have victory and accomplishment if repentance and obedience are begun. Sin in our lives may encourage God to take away our blessings and give them to others. Our ultimate leader should be God, not man. Obedience is much more important to God than sacrifice. We, like David, should be men after God's own heart. 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 14. Outline. Number 1. The service of Eli as priest and judge. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1 through 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 22. Number 2. The ministry of Samuel, the last judge of Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1 through 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 17. Number 3. The ministry of Saul, the first king of Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 1 through 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 35. Number 4. David and Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1 through 1 Samuel chapter 27, verse 12. Number 5. The decline and death of Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 1 through 1 Samuel chapter 31, verse 13. May the Lord add a blessing to the introduction of 1 Samuel.